Hello, I am John, this is CloudFrog, and welcome to the very first CloudFrog game guide. So gather round, tadpoles, and listen to Grandpa Frog talk about games. This is Kingdom Rush 5, just came out. And I have only spent like 16-ish hours in this game, but I have spent hundreds of hours in each of the previous games. So in case you were concerned that I had not wasted tons of my life on these, fear not. This will be a guide, a strategy guide, for tower placement within this game, but also just within all like sort of tower defense games. Let's go to my game. And yes, I haven't finished everything yet. I have about 16 hours on this. But we will cover some of the basics here. All right. First, we'll talk about towers. Let's get into a map real quick. Oh, no, don't care. Yes, lovely. All right. First thing is, with towers, you want to be looking at what I call plot value. So this game uses these plots, right? So you click on the plot, you can build a tower. Winning the game is about picking the right plots, putting the right towers in them, doing it in the right order, and then upgrading those towers in the right order as enemies, flow through. There's two other aspects to this game. One is the heroes, which are here. And the other one is these like abilities that you get. But you shouldn't really be relying on any of this. You should be relying on making the wisest possible decisions with towers. That's how you win pretty much all tower defense games. So let's get into it. Let's talk about it. Plot value. Think of it as like a heat map, like a plot value heat map. You see how the road sort of curves like this. The main thing you're looking for is exposure time. So if we bring up any of these towers, you'll see the green line around it, the circle. That is its range. So the more road is in the range, the better that plot is. It has exposure time to shooting. It has more shoot time. So shoot time is basically, yes, the amount of exposure you have, the amount of road within your tower, and also the speed of the units. So you prioritize shoot time, and that means you being on the inside of curves. So you're on the inside of a curve here, and you just get more shoot time. You're on the outside of the curve. The curve is this way. You're on the outside of the curve. You get way less shoot time. More, less. And that's just basic, the most basic thing, right? Now, it doesn't mean you build here and you don't build here. It just means that these are the prime locations. So you want to build either your most expensive towers or your first towers, or, there's several other considerations. But right now, just more road exposure equals better plots. Second thing is to prioritize choke points. If we go to the second map, we'll see this choke point here. So enemies will come down here, enemies will come down here. So even though this plot is amazing, it only has access to enemies on this route. And there's 2 routes. But here, there's 1 route. So yes, combinations of routes equals just you can shoot at everybody. But also, where the route actually meets is going to be a high density target area. So you're just going to have more stuff to shoot at. The third thing, so you prioritize just raw road, like how much road is in your thing. You prioritize choke points. You can also prioritize, how many targets you have access to total. Is again, each of these, if it's divided up evenly, each of these routes here will have access to half of the enemies coming in, but this will have access to any of the enemies that get to this point. The third thing, though, is the closer you are to the enemy spawn points, the better. So that's like if there's if you're thinking of it as a heat map, hotter, colder over here. So this then is really good because there's tons of road and it's right next to this. Now, why? Why do you want to build, say, these towers first before you build this tower over here? Because we talked about this tower over here has access to more enemies. It has a lot of road there. That's a nice place. But stuff happens in these games. As you're upgrading stuff, as enemies are coming through, you're going to hit places where enemies, there's just more than you thought, it's tougher than you thought. Enemies are going to get past your towers. Yeah? If an enemy gets past your tower here, it gets past this tower, it's like you can see it, and then you're like, oh no, there's an enemy in the middle of the map. Now I have to respond. You can bring a hero over, you can use one of your abilities, you can build a tower over here, you can upgrade a tower that you've already built over here. There's a lot you can do. But if you're building from the back forward, and you're like, oh, this is the best tower position, and then an enemy gets through, well, it's like, oh no, I just lost a health point. Like, they're just right there. Like, maybe you can still use an ability, right? But all the abilities have cooldowns. So if it's on cooldown, well, maybe, yeah, you can bring heroes over, but if your heroes are over here, they might not be able to get there and rescue your thing. So basically, earlier towards the enemy spawn points, right? So that's what I mean by earlier. Over here. Let's click there. The closer they are to the enemy spawn points, the more time you have to react to just mistakes that you make, or the enemy being stronger than you thought, or just enemies getting further than you thought they would. It's not like panic time if that happens. So those are kind of the 3 main aspects of what makes a plot good. Now we have to talk about okay, what do you actually use? Let's go to the next map here. What do you actually use high value plots for? Well, you use them for better towers. So your best, most expensive towers go there. You use them for first placements, or you use them for first upgrades. So you just simply prioritize them, right? So let's test this out, okay? Here's a different map. There's enemies going to come out, flow this way. Enemies going to come out through here. Sometimes they're going to flow this way. Sometimes they're going to flow this way, right? So, using our heat map, these are nice towers because they're early, right? They're closer to the spawn points. However, and this particular tower, you know, has just a lot of coverage. The one over here is honestly a bit sketchy because, like, they're gonna come out of here, and then, like, how much time are they gonna be in range, you know? This is very nice tower here, but it's only gonna affect this spawn point, right? However, we also have a merge here. It doesn't quite merge, right? But it comes close to each other. And so these towers, or these two, excuse me, are going to hit both lanes. Now, before I said, oh, you know, we're going to prioritize getting these towers done over the combined lanes later in the run here. But this is also a choke point. Everything comes in here. And now it's time to talk about specific towers. Because remember when we talked about shoot time? So shoot time is a combination of road within range and the speed of the enemies. And you can control the speed of the enemies because you have these spawning towers, barracks towers, basically. These dudes stop enemies and fight with them, you know. That means enemies are going to be just sitting here, which means these towers go up in value incredibly. You see, there's costs to all of these. So I'm gonna build my biggest, baddest tower here. And then, you know, for sake of argument, if we do something like that, that's real nice. There's other ways you can set this up, right? I'm not saying this is the ideal setup, but now we have this one tower that has huge potential. Last of all, with the tower selection, what towers do you put in what places? What you're looking for is countering various enemies. Damage type, right? There's two types of damage. And you can see it. See royal archers here, and there's a sword, and they do 4 to 6 damage. It says that's physical damage. If you go over here to the arcane wizard, there's a little blue puffy thing in the bottom left of the box that pops up. 13 to 19 magical damage. And generally speaking, let's look at some of the towers. But generally speaking, those are heroes. These are towers. Okay, here's your royal archers. Do kind of medium-ish physical damage. Armor. Some enemies have armor, and they can have between 1 and 3 blips of armor, and the game will show you all what it means by that. That blocks or reduces physical damage. So if you have enemies coming at you that have armor, you want magical damage. There is, however, resistance, so magical resistance. If you have enemies that have magical resistance coming at you, you want physical damage, so like this. There is also flying enemies. And it doesn't really say here what towers affect flying enemies. It just doesn't tell you that. So you have to kind of find out, you know. But the archers can hit flying enemies. Like the paladins here, they're just to hold enemies in place, but they only hold ground enemies in place. The wizard can also hit flying enemies, but this big cannon thing can't. It's only ground enemies. So you kind of have to experiment. You know, this guy can hit flying enemies, this guy can hit flying enemies. You know, I don't think this guy can. You know, I don't want to go through all this, but there's some towers that simply can't hit flying enemies and others can. So you want to make sure you know that. Generally speaking, if you have low health enemies, they're going to throw a lot of them at you. So you're going to have tons of little dudes. For tons of little dudes, you want tons of little dudes, you either want multiple shots. So this here launches multiple shots, does kind of an AoE situation. This tower shoots multiple shots out. There's a handful of towers that are designed to just put as much pain out as possible. However, conversely, if you have a high health enemy, you want something like the Arcane Wizard. The Arcane Wizard is going to do tons of damage, but only in single target shots every once in a while. It says it's medium here. It feels pretty slow when you're actually looking at it. But yeah, anything that is slow and has, you know, high damage, single target things, generally there's a trade-off here, right? So you don't need an incredibly fast tower when you're just working on individual lumbering slow enemies. So you want to know what enemies you're going to face. Let's set some stuff up. There's tusked brawlers gonna come through here, and I've played this before, so I know that later on there's gonna be bears coming through here. Those all have armor, so right away, obviously, this is both close and tons of road space. This is a prime location. So I'm thinking Arcane Wizard right here. Right? But okay, these are hog invaders. These are like weaklings, right? But there's 10 of them. There's a bunch of them. Well, this is only 2 more, I guess. But so maybe some AoE over here. The problem is, okay, this over here, I'm like, okay, well, maybe I just do tons of magic damage here. The problem is if I do this, later on you're going to have turtles that come through here that like heal people, and they have 3 resistance against magic. So they're going to come up here, and if you're just hitting them with magic, they're just going to be here all day healing their allies up, right? So you need a mix of damage in this zone. So that's just one example, right? And also there's they're gonna send birds through later, so you're gonna need something to catch. So like if you're like, oh, I'm gonna set up a crazy trap here, right? And just kill all the ground stuff. And this, like, slow them down. Gonna have a hero here. Um, you know, I'm just gonna really pound everything right here. Well, if birds come through here, if they get past this tower, none of this does, even the hero here, none of this does aerial damage. So you're gonna need something, to catch him over here. So yeah, that's basically my tutorial here. Let me know if you want me to do some playthroughs of some of these. I can do tutorials on like specific maps too. Like, hey, this is the towers to build in what order and stuff. But I don't really think that's tons of fun for you guys. I think it's better for you guys to like learn how to do this on your own, and then you'll be able to become, good at this game and other games just like it. I do want to say one more thing, and that is that you'll notice, I built all these towers in reference to each other. It's nice to build sections, to build in sections. Building in sections that are designed to handle a certain enemy type or just have a purpose in your overall strategy for the map allows you to quickly identify if there's a problem, if there's an enemy that has passed beyond where it should be. And then from there, you can respond. You can upgrade towers. It's a quick way to see, okay, what I have previously thought was secure, and I've been off working on other things, is no longer secure, and I have to shore that up, or I have to add something after it to catch overflow. Also, do keep in mind, this is not an initial setup because obviously, people are, not people, monsters. Monsters are coming out of here, going this way, so we'll need stuff over here too. This is just an example of like what this will eventually look like, and then, obviously we'll be upgrading, doing more stuff. Lastly, I know I've been saying a lot of things, but each of these towers has 3 levels, and then once it's at its 3rd level, it will have 2 upgrades. And this means that some towers will gain extra abilities or functionality later on. So the Royal Archers shoot very fast, do medium damage, so they're good for like flying stuff, but also just higher quantity of lower health targets. But also later on, they get an occasional multi-shot here, which makes them even better against sort of mass low health enemies. So yeah, just keep that in mind, that yes, there is the tower itself, and its basic upgrade, just more damage, more range, that sort of thing. But then once it's at its highest point, you can give it extra functions. So this is kind of like you can attach a mini tower to this tower, and the eagle goes around and attacks things every once in a while. With this guy here, you can send out a little single warrior who's going to stop dudes in their tracks and beat them up. So, so there you have it. These Kingdom Rush games are all excellent. I think these are the best tower defense games that are made. And they're all good. There's none of them I would not recommend. So, all right. Well, thank you very much. I hope you enjoy this different kind of content here, and I hope that you have fun with whatever tower defense games you decide to play, and that these principles I laid out will be of some use to you. That was a Cloud Frog video. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed it.